I grew up in a small town in Alabama, economically depressed. The paper mill left. That area has struggled to recover from that, and it's like a lot of towns across America. There has to be a return of balance to local economies, that it has to be around the things that matter in this place, in this space, to these people. So Emerging Changemakers Network is an organization that works at the intersection between bringing innovative ideas and inspiring leaders together that address issues of economic injustice. When we're talking about economic justice or economic equality, what we're talking about is not that everybody makes the exact same thing, not that everybody does the exact same thing. What we're talking about is having the same level of access. When you've systematically over the years excluded people through processes like redlining, through other processes where you've denied people access to keeping their land, they don't have the same level of collateral. They don't have the same amount of money that they can go and pull out of this account to support your new business. And that means those businesses don't scale as fast. They struggle, and some of them fail. But not because they're all bad ideas, but because they're undercapitalized from the very beginning.
Venture capital firms and even angel investors are always looking for businesses that have a lot of upside and a big return. Microenterprise doesn't give that.
So you have those group that's in that catch-22, and we want to be able to embrace that group.
And so it became a charge of our organization to roll up our sleeves and figure out, how do we get our money into local economies? How do we talk to the finance community about that? How do we talk to everyday people about that? And how do, as Emerging Changemakers Network, sit in the middle of that space and be the bridge between those two conversations? We have a wonderful network of folks that we say, hey, listen, if you really want to unpack some more of these things around your personal finances, here's some great resources that we can put you in contact with. And then we talk about, well, how do we get the banks involved? How do we get CDFIs? How do we get loan funds? How do we get accredited investors, unaccredited investors? How do we find the right systems and mechanisms to plug those folks in at the right times along those interventions?
Investing in the local community, we're thinking about primarily food suppliers.
We looked at food production because we wanted to choose a sector that we thought was deep enough. The other thing was, it was about land, it was about asset development. So if we talk about retaining generational wealth, this was a way to keep land, which is a great way of accumulating forms of wealth, intact for families. We've created a network of investors who have put in resources into a fund so that they can make small patient microloans to growers or other food-based businesses. We did a big report with MIT that looked at areas that didn't have food access, or people commonly refer to as food deserts, and we mapped that out in the state so that we could help legislators and other lawmakers and other nonprofits really understand where some of the opportunity really is, and to talk about what putting a grocery store in that community could do, not just for the health, but what it could do economically for that community, how many jobs it could really create, and how those jobs in that area could then go back to help stabilize those rural communities of that grower who's growing those tomatoes. And then you have organizations like Voices for Alabama's Children that are going to be thinking, well, we need more people to have access to healthy food, particularly our children. And that's an opportunity for them to now work with grocers and retail outlets that they hadn't really had before.
Voices for Alabama's Children is a child advocacy organization whose mission is to ensure the well-being of every child in Alabama. Our goal is to pass policies that can impact the lives of children. We developed the Healthy Food Access Campaign, which is essentially a campaign to incentivize grocers to develop in underserved communities that have limited access to fresh, healthy foods and create jobs and boost local economies. Emerging Changemakers brings a lot of added value to our campaign and to the Healthy Food Financing Initiative with their expertise on the financial barriers that some of the grocery stores and retail developments may find. There's no way that we could do this work without Emerging Changemakers and without their knowledge of how the financial institutions work and their connections and their knowledge and experience. And so it's very crucial for this campaign. There's evidence that shows that actually changing a policy can actually change the social norm. It doesn't just fix one problem in one certain part of the state, it can fix the problem as a whole.
Communities that incubate enterprise are going to be more successful. If every microenterprise in Alabama added one employee, we'd have to go to Georgia or Mississippi to get more people.
If the way that it materializes today is there's a hoop house and there's a shed that's now turned into a little grocery store near high school where people can get fresh fruits and vegetables, what people start to believe is their right and their responsibility and their connection to one another becomes a game changer for lots of other issues. And I think that's really significant.